Hi, I'm Matt Meyer with Sparkhound. In the consulting business, we often deal with a lot of contracts, whether they be master services agreements or statements of work or NDAs. We do a lot of work with this kind of thing. One of the things that I thought maybe we could help out our contract and our sales department is automating the process of creating that SOW. That way they don't have to go in each time and write up something new every time. So I'm going to use Syntex and the content assembly program inside of it to create an SOW. It's always good to get executive approval and to go and find buy-in when you're doing these kind of projects. So when I contacted CEO Sean Usher about this project, he was really excited about it. And he said, Matt, it's 3 a.m. on a Saturday. How did you get this number? Go to bed. If that's not executive buy-in, I don't know what is. Let's get to work. So here we have our document that's loaded into Microsoft Word Online. And actually creating these is actually quite easy. So what I'll do is I'll highlight the area, that token that I created, and I'll click New Field. Here it says the selection is this, and what it will do is once I create this, throughout the document, it will find this particular selection and replace it with what we put forth for that area, for that field. So this field name I'll just call SOW clients, and we'll go next. And now it's going to ask me the text or to select a date. So what I'm going to do here is this is going to be a single line of text. And that's really it. From here, I click Save, and it's ready to go. So I'll do this for the other fields that we've got going inside this particular file. So the next one is going to be our Master Services Agreement date. Again, I'll highlight that. I'll click that. What's different here is that this is going to be a date field. So we'll have SOW MSA date. And as I click next, now it's going to ask me select text or select the date. So here we're going to call this a date and time. We're not going to include the time in the format. We use a standard US format. We'll go ahead and save that. Okay, now I'll fill in the rest of the dates and fields. Okay, we're done entering in all of the areas that we want to have automatically filled in, and we can take a look here. A couple of these I set as numbers because they will come in as number fields and number values. Okay, so I'm done now, so I'll go ahead and I'll click Publish, and I'll finally have a name for the template. I'm going to go ahead and click Publish. This will publish the template, and then we'll be able to grab it from the new list. Okay, we're done. So now if I go up to New, I can click New, and I have it right here as SOW Content Assembly. I can click this, and if I were to do this, just simply filling it out, I have my own form that I can fill out here on the right, and it will go ahead and populate those fields as we go. So let's let this load for a second. I can show you what that looks like. Okay, we have it loaded, and you can see the areas where it has detected that we have our particular things that need to be changed. So here we go. We have SOW client name. So right here, we'll go ahead and put Matt's company. That looks pretty good. And then for a date, let's select, maybe that got signed today. And you can see as we go, these things are going to fill in. And I can go ahead and put as much stuff in here as I want. And then I'll click Save and create this particular document. So I have some text that's already ready already. And we'll go ahead and paste this stuff in here real fast. So here is our executive summary. Here is our scope. And you can see as this populates, it's going to go ahead and enter in our information as we go here. So you can see that that's how you would create this particular document if you were using it directly from SharePoint. All you would do here for the end, we're going to go ahead and put in the deliverables here and our project roles, and then our Sparkhound responsibilities. This is what we're going to do. And you can see this just populates as we go, and we can see the document start to fill out. And here are our client's responsibilities right there, and any additional assumptions that we have into here. Then we're going to give a start date. We're going to start this maybe next week. So let's go there. There we go. Let's do a start date of next week. Say it's going to be the 6th. Right, let that populate. Then we're going to come down here to our end date. We're going to end that maybe just a couple of weeks later. Maybe that's going to be May 1st that we end date. And we're going to need something like 10. Our iteration here, so we're going to do it in weeks or months or whatever. I'm going to call this just an iteration. Okay, so maybe that sprint value or something like that. We're going to do 10 iterations, and we're going to spend $100,000 on it. So that's how this particular thing comes out. Once you've populated all of the fields, we're going to click Create Document. It'll ask me for a name, and we'll create. So, and that's really it. That's how content assembly works. And then if we go in here, it's going to show us the document, and we can go in and actually view the work that we've done in an actual document. So we're done with this. So this doesn't, it's kind of neat to see and kind of fun to work through, but it really doesn't give us what we're looking for. What we kind of want to see here is, what if it comes from another data source? So something like, you can use a SharePoint list, you can use Dataverse or something like that. We want to see how that kind of thing would work. That's much more practical. It's also much more real world for us. And that's really what some company like Sparkhound actually would use. So for that, I'm going to create a Power App. And the Power App's going to have a table. So I've already created the table with the fields that we're going to need. If I go in here and show you the schema, what we'll see here is we've got our columns for all of our various fields that match in our SharePoint template. So we'll scroll down here. I named them all SOW, so it's easy to find. And you can see here, we've got multiple lines of text. One thing I do want to note here is that the content assembly through Syntex at the present time doesn't take rich text. So you do have to make sure that you're doing multiple lines of text with a plain text format. You can't use rich text at this time. You can, it's just going to come out looking weird. So those are things that we have to know. You notice that we have dates here for the various things. So this is the table I'm going to use. And just for the sake of quick deployment, what I'll do is go directly into Power Apps, and let's create something from our template, just so we can get this going as fast as possible. So we got Power Apps loaded here. So I'm going to go to Dataverse and click on that. And this will load up a selection of my tables. And the tables that we're going to look for is the one that we've got over here. This is going to be the SOW content assembly table. So as that loads up, here we go. We will find our new, we can create a new connection, or I can just use my existing one for Dataverse. Right here. And we'll find that particular table. And so that table, SOW, and there it is, SOW content assemblies. We'll select that one. We'll click connect. Now what this does is it generates a 3-page application for me. Now it's going to be in the mobile format, but you can go in and change that in the properties and create this however you like. I'm looking for fast deployment here, so that's why it's going to, I'm using this particular method here. So what I'll do is I'll first go into the edit screen, and you can see I just have the name here. So what I'll do is I'll select the form inside of the name. And again, fast deployment, we just want to get something out there as quickly as possible. It has created for me my data source. I'll click edit fields for my data source. And I don't really need the created on in my edit form, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. But the other ones I'll just add. So I can add the field, and we go back and we find all of our SOW fields that we want to add here. So SOW content assembly, this is going to be the ID field. But what we're going to do here is activities and assumptions and client name and responsibilities, deliverables, end date, executive summary, MSA date, our SOW roles, our scope, our responsibilities for Sparkhound, our start date, our time frame value, our SOW cost value, and from there, I think that's all of our fields. So from here, we click add, and they'll go ahead and add in that way. Now, what I can do afterwards is I can arrange them any way that I like. And so what I'm going to try to do is arrange these in the way that we would fill out the form. That would make it the easiest for myself and for my users. So what I'll do is we'll come up here, and I'm going to click collapse. So we get up here on our actions, and we're going to collapse all. And now I can arrange these however I want. So how this is going to work is I'm going to have my name for my SOW, and then I want to have my client name is going to go there. And then I'm going to look for my MSA date, I want that next. And then I'm going to have my executive responsibility, or my executive summary right there. And then I'll have my scope, right? And under scope is going to be our activities. For after activities, we are going to have the roles. Activities, we're going to have the roles. After the roles, we're going to have Sparkhound's responsibilities. So Sparkhound's responsibilities after our roles. Then we're going to have the client responsibilities after that. Just like that. Then we'll have the SOW assumptions. Then we have the SOW end date. Our start date is going to be before that, and then the end date. Our time frame and our time frame value, and then our SOW cost value. You notice our deliverables are down here, so we need to bring those up. That is going to be after our scope. We have deliverables before scope, and there we go. So you can see these kind of populating down here as we go, and what that is just it's a way we can very quickly make these happen. So let's go ahead and save this one. Okay, we're going to name it. This is going to be SOW content assembly app. We'll save that. Now, right now, this is outside of our application, so of our solution. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and add it to the solution. And after we do that, then we can work on, now we can have something that's going to gather the information. How do we get the information? How do we automate that information into our application or into our SharePoint? So let's go ahead, and we are going to go back here. And yes, I do want to leave the app, and that'll make sure that it's all closed out for us when we move forward. So here we are in our solution, and we're going to go up into apps. And what I will do is I'm going to, one of the neat things about solutions is you can add existing. So I could create this and then add it to my solution later. So here's the solution. I'm going to go up into app. This is going to be a Canvas app, and then it's going to ask me to select it. So it's going to be outside Dataverse right now, and we're going to click that. Okay, so that's one we just created. We're going to go add, and it will add it to our solution. Okay, there it is. So this is already in there, and then the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to create our flow. So in here, we can go into cloud flows. Right now, we don't have any. And what we're going to do is add that directly. So I'm going to go new, and I will go into cloud flow. And this is going to be an instant flow. All right, the next thing we're added is a series of triggers. I'm going to select the Power Apps trigger, and then we're going to put in here the name of the application. And for this one, it's just going to be SOW content assembly flow. All right, and we'll click create. It'll go ahead and load the Power App surface. All right, so here we have Power Apps. This is our trigger, and this is nothing more than it's just something that says we're going to connect this into our Power App. So our next step as we get going here. All right, our next step as we get going here is to grab the row through Dataverse. And what I'll do is I'll select the Dataverse object here, and we are going to look for get a row by ID. And as we grab that, we're going to look for our table name. Our table name, remember, was SOW. Make sure it takes our typing, SOW. And there it is. So SOW content assemblies, we're going to select that. And the row ID, we are going to ask to get from Power Apps. And that's something that we'll pass to this particular flow when we get going. So once that is done, we can move on into generate our document. So here it is, generate document using Microsoft Syntex. This is a preview object for the time being, but soon to go general availability. And so first we have to think about a couple of things here. So we're going to have a site address. This is going to go into my site that I've got here. I'll just grab this information there. And we'll come back in here. I'm going to say this is enter a custom value, and I'll paste that in. Our document library name, we're going to come in here. This is going to be SOW assembly. And our document template is the one that we just created, which is SOW content assembly. So I'm going to create it in the existing folder. Now you'll see all of the information that comes in from this syntax be populated in here. And so the first thing we're going to take a look at this file name, and what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use the name of my item. That'll be the title that we use when we're creating our Power App, or when we're entering our data in the Power App. The SOW client then is, we'll just roll down these as we populate them. So it's going to be SOW client name, and our SOW MSA date. Now, we run into a problem here. The date format coming in is not going to be accepted by the SOW template. So what we have to do, you see, this date has to be in this format, MMDDYYY. What is coming from Dataverse is going to be the UTC date. All right, so we have to do a conversion here first. So let's leave this alone right now. We're going to populate the rest of it. We'll come down here, and this is going to be our SOW executive summary. Okay, the next one is going to be our SOW scope. All right, our SOW activities. Next is going to be our deliverables. Now I'm scrolling. You can type this information up in here. So if I go here, I can do SOW project or the SOW roles, and it'll pop up. So it makes it a little bit easier if you've got a lot of different roles or a lot of different items to go through. So this is going to be SOW Sparkhound responsibilities. This next one is going to be SOW client responsibilities. And finally, our SOW additional assumptions. Okay, and now we have a couple of our dates. We're going to fill in the iteration here, our iteration. So SOW time frame, our SOW, then here's our value. So this is SOW time frame value right here. And then finally is going to be our contract value. So it helps if you name things the same. Total cost value, there we go. So that's in there. So what we need to do is we have to format these dates. And there's a couple of different ways we can do that. What you can, if you've got the space here, and how we're going to do this here is we're going to create a compose action. And this is always good when you're in the beginning here, so that you can make sure that you do this correctly and you have a way to double check. But we'll go here and we're going to rename this, and I'll call this MSA date. And my input here, I'm going to use an expression, and the expression is going to be the format date expression, or the format date time expression. And what that looks like is I'll come in here to the expression and we'll say format. And you can see right here it says format date time. And then what I'll do is you put a paren, and then we're going to go into dynamic content, and I'm going to find that MSA date. Now you can see here I don't have anything pop up. That's okay. If I click this here, see more, it's going to go ahead and show me pretty much everything that I've got. So I'm going to go down here to SOW, MSA date. I'll enter that in. You can see it populates that for me. I'll go to the end, and what I'll need to do is I need to define what this is going to be. So remember that the date is going to be the standard US type of date. So we're going to go comma, and then we'll have this. And the format, the way we do this is in the ISO 8601 format. So it's going to be MM, and then a slash, and then DD, and then a slash, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 Ys, and that's our date. Okay, we'll click OK, and that'll go ahead and put in there. So now what we're going to do is we can do that for the rest of them, or what you can do is you can come down in here and actually do it in for the MSA date. We'll come down here and we'll say this the outputs of MSA date. Otherwise, what I'll do is I'll go into this, and you can do the same thing that we were doing before. So you can go into the expression and say format date time, and put in my param and go into my dynamic content. And this one is going to be for the start date. So we'll go ahead and find SOW start date, and it's the same, second verse, same as the first. I go in here and find my SOW and find my start date. There it is. And same thing. I come here, I'm going to put end, and at the end I'll put a comma, and then I'm going to say this is going to be MM slash DD slash 1, 2, 3, 4 year, and I'm done. All right, and I'll do the same thing right here. So again, we come in here and we go format date time, put my parens, go find my dynamic content. This time it's going to be my end date. So SOW end date right there, and end, comma, MM slash DD slash 1, 2, 3, 4 for years. And that's it. We're good to go. All right, let's go ahead and save this. And we're ready to go ahead and test this thing. So the first things first, we need to give it a row ID. We don't have a row ID first, so we'll go ahead and just go into Power Apps and configure this thing up. So let's go into Power Apps from our solution. Back here, we're going to go into Apps, and we are going to find that particular app. Here we go. And let's edit this app. That'll load up our app. Okay, there we go. And let's go into our edit screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our little number there. Okay, I've clicked on the checkbox, and the checkbox is in the auto-generated application. It's the way that you submit the form. So submit the form, essentially what this does is that writes it back to Dataverse. I'm going to put a semicolon at the end saying that's the end of a particular line. And now I want to do something else, right? And because in the Power App, I am passing it a value, what I want is to grab that value. So the easiest way to do that is with going back and take a look at the last submitted SOW field from this particular application. So how I do that is I'm going to use a command called update context. And update context, what that just deals with this particular screen. So I'm going to create a variable that is local just to this screen. It's going to be involved just right here. So I'll go ahead and close the paren there. I like to do that. I'm an old school developer. I like to close things before I start writing. We're going to get in here and I'll call it last submitted ID, and then I put a colon. That means I'm assigning this variable. And in Power Apps, you can assign a variable pretty much any way. And this is how you do it. So now I'm going to call the form. So it's going to be EDIT form 1. You can see the IntelliSense drops there, and I can grab it. Dot, and now I'm going to look at the last submit. This is the last submitted form. And I'll look for the field that I want. And the field that I want here is going to be SOW content assembly. And what that is that is going to be the ID field for that's auto-generated. And this is a GUID, and this is something I can pass and use that. So I'm going to say that that's done. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and click on the Power Automate. First, I'm going to save early, save often, just a rule of thumb here for everything. So let's hit our Power Automate, and we can do all this stuff. We're going to close that. We're not going to create a new flow. We're going to add a flow, and it's going to be a flow that's within our own environment, and the environment is test environment. So here it is. It's going to be our our SOW content assembly flow. We're going to click on that, and it's going to pull that flow in. Once it is ready, it's ready now. I can go ahead and call it here in Power Apps. So we're going to hit enter, and we're going to say SOW content, and there it is, SOW content assembly flow, and we're going to run it, .run, and then we're going to pass the information that it wants. So, and passing the information is going to be this variable right here. So we'll pass that information, and that's it. We're ready to go. So we can go ahead and test this. I can easily test this just by clicking the play button, and it's going to save it for a second. Okay, so we are in the edit view. So we'll go ahead and go back into our, we want to go into the new view. So let's go here, and we're going to go into our browse screen, and let's start it from here. Right, and we're going to click the plus, and here is our thing. So this name, we're going to add Power App Generated SOW, and now we're going to go ahead and I'll pull up my text field again, and let's put this information in. So our client name, again, let's say it's going to be Matt's Marker Mansion. And our SOW date is going to be, we'll say that was signed today. And then our executive summary, let's grab that, Control C, and paste. And then our SOW scope, we're going to grab that and paste. And for our deliverables, we're going to go through and we'll grab that and paste. And then our SOW activities, grab those, paste our roles for this project right here, paste. Let's scroll down some. Our responsibilities, this is Sparkhound's responsibilities. And we're going to do that. And the client has responsibilities. They are going to do that, and then we're going to have our additional assumptions. And that's going to be right here. Our SOW start date, we're going to say this is going to be, we'll say 3/20 this time, and we are going to end up then on something like, we'll say June. Let's say June 2nd. That sounds good. That's a good date. Our time frame is going to be an iteration. Our time frame value is going to be 10. And total cost value, $100,000. Okay. And that's really it. We're going to click submit, and I hope this works. So let's submit the item. That gets written back to Dataverse, and there we go. We've got it there for Dataverse. And let's go into our Power App. So let's go back into our solutions here real quick. And let's click on our solution name and go into our flow. Once we see our flow, we should be able to see if this has been corrected, if it went correctly or not. So we're going to go into that flow. We'll take a look at our run history to see if it indeed was succeeded, and it did succeed. So let's go in here. We'll take a look and see what it did. So our flow ran successfully. We can see the inputs then that we got. So we got from Power Apps. Here's our row ID. So that's what we sent from our Power App. We'll go into here's Dataverse. We're able to grab the table name, and this is the row ID. And then of course the name Power App generated SOW. Here was all of our stuff then that we grabbed from that. Right, and here we were able to convert the MSA date from there, and then we're actually to go in here and see the various MSA date there, our SOW start date, and our end date. So that is all done. Let's take a look at the actual file. And here it is, our Power App generated SOW file. So let's go ahead, and from Dataverse, our file now has been created. And we should see all the information in there. Again, here's Matt's Marker Mansion. Here we go. There's our SOW date of today. And here's our executive summary and everything else that we wanted to see. So there we go. So again, here you see the power of the Syntex content assembly. It's able to grab that information from Dataverse using the Power Platform and input it into a document. This has a lot of different implications when it comes to things like perhaps work orders or maintenance requests or things like that your company may have. So I appreciate your time today, and thank you very much.